Standing at the Bema here in the ancient city of Corinth. This is where Paul would have spoken in the city. If Kim pans around here, you can see the remains and ruins of the ancient city of Corinth. Up there, the Acropolis, that's the high point of the city, way up on top of the mountain. Our group here is visiting and then stepping down. But this would have been where Paul was tried. This would have been where he would have spoken. This, of course, was the city where Aquila and Priscilla took him in, and they were also tradespeople, and he would work here with them. They also would go on to Ephesus, and there they came in touch with a man who was preaching God, but only knew the baptism of John. They pulled him aside privately, and there they explained to him the truth of Christ. He hadn't heard that yet, and of course he came to know Christ, and that was Apollos, the one of whom Paul wrote, I have planted, Apollos watered, and Christ gave the increase. A very famous and important part of the New Testament, that person. And then, of course, they would go on to Rome with him, Aquila and Priscilla. But here in Corinth was where he spent a year and a half pastoring the church here. It was also here that he wrote his letters to the Thessalonians and the Thessalonians, and there he would be, of course, beginning of the New Testament writings as we know them. Two letters written to this church after his tenure there, and a place that he probably planted here more as far as a year and a half than many of the cities. He was often run out of the cities, and he was tried here. This is also where he said to those Jewish religious leaders who rejected, I go to the Gentiles. He still continued to go to synagogues later in his third journey, but this is where his second missionary journey came to an end, and where he spent about a year and a half. This city was more accepting, but it was also a very more immoral city. The goddess Aphrodite was up there, and that was a lot of prostitution and those kinds of things. Sailors coming through here, and they had a word for Corinthosian, which means you live an immoral Corinthian life. Is what they were known for. But the message resonated here, and he had greater success here, of course, after coming from Athens, where there was not much of a success. There of course, they worshiped Sophia. They were sophisticated, goddess of wisdom. Here, a little more open to the message, and it resonated here in such a way that quite a church was planted here. He did have to deal with their carnality, but major city in the life of the Apostle Paul and in the New Testament, as our first books were written here.